welcome to another exciting episode of The Story of with Manny Lagunes. Manny, how are you?
I'm doing fine, Bowie. Nice to see you again. Glad to be here.
I just find it funny you call me by my last name, like always. So where we left off,
Hmm.
you were at a point inside of your life where you're being picked up by the police or immigration. You were on their radar. They were following you. They were on your case, and they finally caught up with you to arrest you. This is, I mean, to me, it's like the climax because there's no more running. You're at a point now where you have to deal with the consequences, and that's what this episode is about. So that's kind of what I want to focus on. What happened when they arrested you? After where did they take you? And detain you? Like what happened?
Okay. I'm gonna try to be as specific as possible as I can. Okay. So if at any point you have any other questions that come up, please let me know because this is uh almost out of a scene out of a movie. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it happened on a Tuesday, October 31st, Tuesday, 2018.
You remember that
I
day
was
very well, I see.
exactly. Yeah, I have to. I mean, the way that I saw it, my point of view was like, I'm in a movie right now. Like, what the fuck is actually happening right now? I didn't believe it. Um, I had and I think we touched a little bit on this last episode. I had a member of the Washtenaw Interfaith Coalition for Immigrant Rights pick me up from my house Tuesday morning. I had a court date at the Washtenaw court for some legal cases I was fighting. I had my court date at 8 in the morning. She picked me up. Timing was well. Everything is well. I was living over on at the outskirts of Ypsi on Michigan Avenue, almost near Canton. I was living in a trailer park, mobile home community, whatever you want to call it. And she picked me up. Is a volunteer for Wicker, is what we call it. She picked me up, and as soon as we left, the park, the neighborhood, literally at the entrance of the neighborhood was a all black, sort of what you would think an undercover police car, a Taurus,
Mm-hmm.
all black, tinted everything. And I looked at it, and I mean, this is Ipsy, you understand? So in my mind, I'm like, there's just another undercover cop looking for speeders or whatever, da da da. And I just looked at it from the window. I was passenger, kept on going. Um, when we got to the intersection of Michigan Avenue and what is known as Ridge Road, there is a Los Amigos there. Um, there were about three or four Explorer SUVs, Ford Explorer SUVs, also undercover stealth type of vehicles. I looked at them and I knew automatically something in my head clicked. Those cars belong to immigration. They're not labeled. They're not labeled. They're not there, on some sort of police raid or, it's not a coincidence that there's three cars right there just chilling by themselves. There's not a couple of police, just having breakfast or something. No, these are undercover agents. I looked at them and I looked over at the driver and I told her, I said, that's immigration, right? And she says, yeah, that's clearly immigration. I'm going to try to contact Rick as soon as possible, find out what is going on. We turned on to Michigan Avenue. We made a right turn. We turned on to Michigan Avenue, headed towards the Washtenaw District Court, and lights came on behind us. It was that Ford Taurus that tailed us since we had Keynote came out. Um, the Ford Taurus turns on the lights, and she pulls over, and she looks at me. She says, "Stay calm." Probably a routine check, whatever. An officer comes to the window. She rolls down the window, um, and she asks the officer, "What's going on? Why am I getting pulled over?" The officer proceeds to ask her, "Do you have a driver's license and registration?" She says, "Yeah, it's all here." She hands it to him. He doesn't take it. He looks into the car and he makes eye contact with me. Well, sort of. He was wearing dark shades, and he looks at me and he calls me by my first name. He called me by my first name, and he asked me. My name is Manuel. For those of you watching that don't know, he asked me. He said, "Manuel, do you have an identification on you?" When he said that, my heart almost like sank. He called me by my first name, asked me for identification, and I told him, I said, "Yes, but who are you?" And that's when he told me, I'm with immigration. I'm with Homeland Security. I looked over to my right side, the window, thinking, I don't know what was going through my mind. I thought maybe, I don't know, make a run for it or something. You know what I'm saying? I looked over to my right side in the window, and there was three other officers just standing right outside of the door. And I'm like, okay, cool. So reached in my back pocket, grabbed my identification, gave it to him. I'm like, yeah, that's me. He goes, please step out of the vehicle. I'm like, all right, cool.
Wait,
I
wait,
knew
wait,
what was
wait.
going on.
So back up some because I know that you said that you can't have identification. Was this an illegal ID?
No, remember, if you haven't already, I suggest the viewers to watch episode 3, I believe, the story of. We talked about President Barack Obama and his deferred action for childhood arrival, which is
Yeah,
a
I
work
remember
permit.
talking about that, but that allows you to have one.
Correct.
Okay.
But this is
So,
not everybody. This is you have to have certain requirements. I think
but
we
then
talked a
that
little bit
gives
about it.
notion to you being illegal, wouldn't it?
It gives notion to me having legal status as opposed to being there illegally, meaning I pay taxes, meaning I had a social security and a driver's license and credit record, whatever it is. So at this point in time, I'm allowed to be there under these certain circumstances, these margins, as long as I keep doing this, and that, and renovating my permit every 2 years. I had to
So
renew
they
my
were really
permit
just
every
mad
2 years.
because you had a criminal record that you built up, and they said enough is
Exactly,
enough.
exactly, exactly. So I did have what you would call legal status at that point in time. I did have it. Nothing shady there. So I gave him my ID, driver's license, and he asked me to step out of the vehicle, and I knew what was going on at that. When he asked me to step out of the vehicle, and I saw the officers at my window already, I knew what was going to happen. Something inside of you, that intuition tells you, this is exactly what's going to happen. So I just, I did the smartest thing. I grabbed my phone, my wallet, and my house keys, and I gave them to the driver, and I told her, this is what's going to happen. This is what you should do, sort of the steps to take. And sure enough, I stepped out of the vehicle. The officers that were waiting for me outside put me in handcuffs and just put me in the back of one of their cars.
And where did you go from there? Where did they take you to detain you?
This is the interesting part because I don't know the legality behind this. When they threw me in the back of the car, we didn't just automatically proceed to a detention center. They held me for about 30 minutes in the back of the car in a parking lot asking me questions. I didn't answer anything. I didn't tell them anything to the point where they got
What kinds
frustrated
of
and said,
questions did they ask you?
they asked me, do you know why we're here? Do you know the charges that are being brought against you? Do you know how long we've been looking for you? What have you been doing to sort of avoid us? Where were you going this morning? What are you, just trying to get as much information as they could out of me. And I wasn't talking at all. I didn't even respond no, yes, or nothing. I wasn't disrespectful either. I just didn't say anything. And eventually, the, one of the officers said, "All right, we understand you don't want to talk to us, so we'll just move forward." This was a good 30 minutes sitting in the parking lot, just in the back of a car, just handcuffed, listening to them ask me questions, not saying anything. So afterwards, they took me to Detroit, the heart of Detroit City, downtown. There is I think that's where immigration headquarters is based because it's so close to the border,
Mm-hmm.
with Canada, that is, right? So they are a federal agency. So that's what their home headquarters are. So they took me there, and they sat me down almost like like when you see some of these TV shows about criminals, just sitting next to a desk answering questions and whatever. That's what they did. They asked me a bunch of other questions again. At that point, I decided to tell them, sort of a little bit and question them as well as to the legality of them stopping me. I was on my way to court to clean my name, clear my name. They didn't want to hear it though, so they gave me a phone call. I called my lawyers. They told me, be calm, be cool, and we'll see you soon. In the meantime, though, I was put in what you would call just a holding cell. You know,
With other
Wait,
people?
this is what's funny about that. There was only one other guy in there who was actually there, who was Mexican or Hispanic, right? He was Mexican.
Mm-hmm.
There was only one other guy in there, uh, and me, and there was a third person in there, and this is where it gets a little funny. That third person that was in there was a guy from France. He was being held there because he had overstayed his visa by something like 3 days, and they had caught up with him. And in my mind, I'm thinking like, wow, okay, well, you overstayed your visa for 3 days, and you decided to come to Michigan or Detroit for Lord knows what reason. And me and this guy are sitting here like literally fighting to stay, where we grew up or where our family is for our lives, essentially. So you saw this kind of this level of some people there because they, overstayed their visa, and
So, what was the treatment like inside of this while being held in this cell?
here's the thing. I couldn't really tell you what the treatment was because we didn't get any treatment.
Were they
Just like
kind? Did
I
they?
guess
I mean, was there any craziness that went on? I mean,
no, not here. Again, there was only three of us in there, and they held us there for 24 hours, sort of see if they pick up anybody else that needs to be
transferred.
transported anywhere, processed anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I couldn't tell you about the treatment because for those 24 hours we didn't get. Um, and maybe I can tell you a little bit about the treatment being inhumane because, as many of you probably can suspect, jails are very cold. They're extremely cold, and we weren't offered food. We weren't offered blankets or any type of something to keep us warm. No bunks, no whatever paper mattresses, whatever rubber mattresses that they offer you in jail. Nothing. Just a couple
For
of
24 hours,
yes, for 24 hours.
you didn't
All
get
white
food at all.
no food, all white walls. The lights were on the whole
That's
time.
how. If you got picked up and you were at a point in your life where you were hungry, like in your day, sorry, that you were hungry, like maybe you were headed to get food, you went 24 hours without eating.
That is correct. That is correct. And the reason why, because it's not like I had a clock on the wall telling me, oh, it's been 24 hours. No. The reason why is because they picked me up early in the morning. Remember, I was on my way to court.
Mm-hmm.
When they transported us, once again, it hadn't just been a couple of hours. It had been a great amount of time, and it was morning again. It was morning the next day, you know. So that was my only like sign as to like, okay, it's been. But at this point in time, I mean, when you're sitting there, you're not thinking like, I'm hungry, I'm starving, I need to eat. You're thinking like, what is going to happen to me next? What are they doing? What is going to be the outcome? How long am I going to be here? I have to be at work that afternoon. I had to be. That's what I was thinking. I have to be at work this afternoon. My dog is home alone. Uh, I wonder what my parents are going through, if they even heard about this yet, about my situation.
You don't
So
get that one phone call that's speculated in movies.
I did get it, and I called my lawyers.
Okay.
And from there, I
You didn't tell. I don't know if that's a job that they provide. To contact other people and kind of
yeah,
notify them.
yeah, definitely. But you also will have to remember that they want to be discreet. You know, discretion is a very high thing when it comes to immigration lawyers, because you don't know who's listening in on that phone call. You don't know if that phone call is being traced. If they're like, oh, he's gonna call his parents, let's just trace this phone call so we can go pick him up as well. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So yeah, again, I think I can. It's safe to say they called my parents, they called my folks, let them know what was going on, and told them, what
So
they told me.
before we wrap this up, I kind of want to know after this 24 hours, they release you, and not like release you into the world, but obviously you get out of this holding cell. So I kind of want to know where you went next, and we can kind of pick up with what happened at this next stage, inside of your life experience.
At,
So
at this point in time, after they decided that we're not going to pick up anybody else or bring them to this, we made a couple other stops around Detroit, Taylor, Monroe, and another city. I'm blanking on the name. And we picked up also detainees that they had in those jails headed to what was immigration detainment. Eventually, we made it to Battle Creek, Calhoun County
which
is what it
people
is.
that are watching are not maybe not familiar with Battle Creek. That's what is that 45 minutes or an hour, 2 hours away? I think it's
From
an hour, but I'm not positive.
from Detroit, it's probably about an hour and a half. From
Okay.
Detroit, it's probably about an hour and a half, maybe 2 minutes, depending on traffic. It's not right around the corner.
So you were
You have to
driving
cross a
for a
couple of
bit with all of these people. Okay.
driving in a van. We made it, and they took us to Calhoun County, and that is sort of what it is, headquarters for detainees. It's a prison, so they have plenty room for housing inmates. In this case, immigration inmates. And I would soon learn to find out that that's what they sort of make their most money out of. The prison system is a money maker, and Calhoun County said, you know what, we need the money. Let's house the inmates.
And how long were you at this prison?
I was in there for 3 months.
Okay,
I was
so
in there
that's
for three
that's
months.
what I really want to kind of talk about and cover when we get into the next episode. I have my next door neighbor kind of put me onto a show called 60 Days In. Have you ever heard of it?
Yes,
Which
yes.
is an amazing show where they kind of talk about these people that go undercover to find out about jail experiences. And I binge watched like all 6 seasons in like a week and a half, which if you know how long the episodes are and how many episodes is that, that's pretty much every freaking day I'm watching an episode all throughout my day, And
Sure.
so I got a glimpse. I've never been to jail or in trouble with the law, and so I got a glimpse of what that experience is like. And so I think that's such a great episode to come up on because I don't know how much is it the same kind of craziness from 60 Days In or the kinds of people that you experience and what that treatment was like, especially after knowing that you didn't eat for 24 hours. So I think that's where we're going to pick up inside of your story, and I think that it is unique. Your experience for the sole purpose, like I said before, the things that you go through are things that will inspire others or impact others. Maybe somebody that is getting in trouble with the law or the wrong people, that will kind of inspire them not to, so that they don't have to go through that same thing, because it has to be a traumatic experience to be that far away from your family. For me, and we'll get to my story of after the season of your story of, but for me to leave Detroit, where my family is now, they're in another state, but to leave and go all the way to California was so big. When I got there, I mean, that's all I know. If something happened, I could always rely on them because they're close. And so
Yeah.
to be out there alone on your own, to be separated from your family, I know that that's difficult. Are there any closing thoughts that you kind of have that you want to add to it before we close out the show?
As always, man, if you haven't already, make sure you check out the previous episodes. Tune in next week to find out, what how my story keeps unraveling.
Well, thank you, Manny, for being here and sharing with us your story. Everybody, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell, and tune in next week to our next episode of the story of Manny Lagunes. Whatever you do.